Okay, so the world has changed, and what we're going to look at today is a little bit about what we're doing with the Telegraph, a bit more about newspapers generally, and the big question is, are we going to die? Well, I certainly hope not. I wouldn't be standing here otherwise, but let's just see what I think is going to happen in that space and how that has a significance for everyone in the mobile industry and around it. Some interesting facts first. Double the 2 to 5-year-olds can play with a smartphone apps and can tie their shoes. It's quite a staggering fact, isn't it? Let me show you something else staggering as well. There are more iPhones sold every second than babies born in the world. The other stat, which I haven't got a slide for, do you know there were 570 years of Angry Birds game time played every day? The world is changing. Some things will change, some things won't change, some things will stay as they are and have been for millions of years. But pace of change is enormous. Some of us were brought up in a world where an application was something you filled in for a job. A hard drive was a long journey on the road. A mouse was obviously a rodent. A mouse pad was where a rodent lived. And if you had a 3.5-inch floppy, you just hoped that nobody found out about it. But the pace of change is demonstrated for me. Our office in Victoria. And this was W.H. Smith's in Victoria last week. And they're top 16 magazines selling magazines at the moment. 12 of them are to do with iPhones, iPads, or tablets of some form. Isn't that quite staggering in itself? So, what we're going to do today is look at a little bit about 3 things really. Evolving media landscape, how we use mobile, some experiences for ourselves, and what future considerations we need to bear in mind. I'm not going to fill it with stats and charts. I know there's lots of stuff around today doing that. I'm just going to give you some experiences and some thoughts. So, but just to set the context, where we were 5 years ago, the mobile landscape was certainly different than where we were today. There were mobile phone apps, but the App Store concept we knew it was still years away. There's a huge difference now in speed and scope than what it is in today's market. We've moved to 2012 from keypad to touchscreen, from 2G to 3G to 4G, if you want to get an iPad 3. I don't know if you've been underwhelmed by it as much as I have, but anyway. Social certainly as an afterthought to mobile being an intrinsic part of the mobile web, and of course to a world full of apps. It was interesting to see Disney launching Swampy the other week as a first attempt as a mobile first for gaming, targeting kids on mobile. You can debate the ethics of that. That's good to see. And if you look forward 5 years from now, it's very difficult to know where we'll be this time next month, never mind 5 years. But I think what we can assume is there are going to be a lot more faster devices, much more complex, and they'll slowly and surely replace workstations and notebooks in a whole range of wireless and portable devices. And I think one subject devices, one device which I think has got a good chance of doing quite well is this thing, which you may or not have seen. It's the new Kindle. It's not out in the UK yet, but it acts very much like an iPad. It has a carousel. You can download music, videos, a web browser, blah, blah, blah. It does most things that people on the high street would want from a tablet device at a size like that and at a cost of $200. It's been selling about 1 million a week in the States. It's going to come out this year before Christmas. And it's got a good chance of the only device I think so far has been capable of taking on the iPad. So where we are in 2012, I think certainly companies are waking up a lot more to mobile now, and mobile I describe anything in the wireless space, whether it's mobile, tablets, etc. There's more awareness, there's more question. The rise of the smartphone, as we've heard earlier, makes things a lot easier. The increase in bandwidth, this long-term evolution is certainly changing things. So a lot more case studies available, mobile metrics giving you more bang for your buck and how to measure it. A lot more content's available now, and certainly more opportunities in mobile advertising and sponsorship. Question is, does this change everything? Well, I think for us, I think it does. There are more over 55s with iPads than under 35s. That certainly resonates with the Telegraph audience. 25%, this is from the YouGov survey of last year, 25% of iPad owners say their iPad usage has been additional to the current media consumption, not a replacement for. 50% of owners share their iPad with other members of the family. I think this will change. I'm not sure how many people here would want their other halves going through their inbox every night. You can judge for yourself on that one, but I think it will change anyway as things become more personal and prices come down and become more ubiquitous. But understanding the household consumption patterns in this space is certainly vital. So, what's our experience in reaching mobile audiences? Mobile at the Telegraph I've been at the Telegraph just about 2 years now. I think it's probably fair to say we didn't really have a strategy before. We dabbled in mobile, and it seemed to me the guy selling coffee in our lounge seemed to have a finger in mobile in some form. There was no commercial rhyme or reason to what we did. So we sort of harnessed that and produced a number of different things. We have a free mobile internet site. We've had some free apps out there in terms of news and pictures and things like World Cup Rugby, etc. We've had some paid-for apps and fantasy football, and we've had sponsored apps for Formula One, etc. And we've got a Kindle, which at the moment is just a PDF version with pictures, but it'll change with the Kindle Fire when that comes out later this year. But the story I just want to concentrate on for the moment is the iPad, which is an interesting story for everyone, I think. It's strange to think, isn't it? The iPad seems to have been around for many years. There were 650,000 sold in this country at Christmas, 60% interestingly to women now, which is marking a shift, I think, in the ownership. And it resonates with what we have found, which I'll come back to in a second. But it's only been around in this country since summer 2010. And from our point of view, strategy for the iPad is core to our future business model. We launched in September 2010 a free version, 50 stories a day, free to anyone. It was sponsored by one of our advertisers, Audi. And we used the opportunity over the next 6 months, in fact, to find out what it is people liked and didn't like about the app before we brought out a paid but not paid for version. I'll explain what that means in a second. But this is how we went about it. I call this taking a bite out of the apple. If you're working with Apple, they sort of try and keep all the information themselves, of course. So what we did was try and bypass that. We asked people through the app, our free app, when we put it out, would you give us your email address so we can contact you relevant services information and opinions going forward. It ended up being about 60% gave us their email address, which we were able to go back to. We had over 100,000 people on our tech email database, 2,000 letters to the editor through the app, most of them entitled, strangely, Dear Sir. Funny how people viewed it. And we had about a dozen focus groups in the building where I sat down and said to people, tell us what you like. What do you like about the app? What is good? What would you be prepared to pay for? What things would you like to see in there? And this is what they told us. They said that they liked the product's closeness to the newspaper rather than the website. That's sort of depth of engagement and reading experience it offers. My words, not theirs. A conspicuous editorship is what they like. That sense of time and expertise expended in selecting the most important stories of the day. I suppose analysis outside the maelstrom are the constantly updating news for which users still turn to the web. They like the clean design, the sections, this finishability, which we didn't expect. They know where it starts and it know where it finishes. These are all key strengths of print media that users value and believe to be successfully transferred to the iPad app. They told us they liked which sections they liked, the content, the letters, the cartoons, the puzzles. From an advertising point of view, many told us they prefer the full page advertising to the conventional web style display ads. They said they plays a part in distinguishing the app from the website and actively adds to the premium feel, which is what, of course, we're about. We're moving this year, I think, into slightly more wider audience now, maybe looking at contextual advertising on there, and in terms of placement of advertising and sponsorship in other ways. But so far, over 46% have said they preferred a certain style advertising, which we've listened to. And visuals, we think these will become increasingly important. Photography is certainly made for the app. We have an iPad app for pictures too. And video will surely become increasingly essential. Things like the iPlayer on the iPad is now beginning to make it the norm. And this is what the government said. iPad advertising is a premium value. It offers a new and differentiating way of engaging and attracting. It adds more value. It's likely to drive more purchase. And this is what we found out through our own research from that time before we went through our second iteration. We found that over 36% are over 55, 72% on male, which was interesting because originally when we put the free version out, it was 85%, and it represents that shift I was saying to more of a female audience now. 24% are key execs, so a very wealthy audience on an index of 100 across the country of people over 60,000 salary. So we play on that with our advertising and the people that we deal with who advertise with us.